Welcome everyone to episode 2 of Coffee Before Bed, an LPL talk show. I'm Mazel, and I'm joined by my ever glowing, morning-loving companion and friend and roommate, Kangas. Who,
literally glowing right now.
Literally glowing.
With the screen illuminating my white hoodie.
So we've got the light and dark aspect going on right now. I need to switch to my dock so you can actually see me. There we go. Look at that.
Yeah.
By the request
encapsulates what's going on.
Yeah, by the request of all of our fans, we have now decided to do video, which, you know, all of our fans, you're welcome.
By all fans, we mean 3 people that messaged on Twitter.
Sylvex, who literally...
Out Battery, Sylvex, I think Nick Geraci.
We're going to eventually get the coffee desk going downstairs, and we'll have our morning talk show down there. It'll be great. Fun. One of these days.
But for now, we get the nice sunrise in the window, so you can see as the morning comes in.
As I want to sleep. Luckily, I have blackout curtains. But anyways, welcome to the talk show where I catch my very unknowledgeable friend up on the LPL. Unknowledgeable of the LPL on the LPL. I am an LPL caster and a NACL caster, which is the tier 2 in North America. And my friend here is an NACL caster as well, and trying to learn a little bit about the professional league in China. So this is going to be my best attempt. I casted tonight, so I did the last 2 series. So I had to catch up on the first series a little bit as I was still doing prep and whatnot for my series itself. But we're going to catch you up on the 3 best of 3s that just happened on the second day of week number 1 of the LPL.
Before we get into it, I want to say that this was kind of the original idea of the show, is because you're up casting late, and like you're up watching the games anyway. But this is the true test of how much energy Mazel can have before falling asleep.
Hey, I'm ready to go. Give me another best of 3. Okay. I love casting. All right, so
never would have guessed.
Never would have guessed. We're gonna go through all 3 of the best of 3s tonight. But first, we're gonna start off with Mazel's moment, and my favorite moment of the night. Yeah, we gotta start with it. My favorite moment of the night. Well, I guess I already messed this up. All right, let's go. This is recorded, so this is all going into the thing. This is gonna be hilarious.
Oh, we're not starting with Mazel's moment.
We're not starting with Mazel's moment. We're gonna go back. I realized I didn't say who played tonight, and that's kind of important when we're talking about catching up on the LPL. So first series that was LGD versus RA. We'll get to the score a little bit later. We also, after that, had OMG versus RNG, and then the final series of the night was Ultra Prime versus Ninjas in Pajamas, who have now just made their foray into the LPL, this split. So now that I've said who has actually played tonight, I can get to Mazel's moment because we know what teams played. And my favorite moment of the night was the second series of the night, and it was RNG's domination of OMG, but more so Breathe, the top laner for RNG. Had I know we all know the Brant's meme from having bot diff on his forearm. Well, Breathe came in tonight in his intro, because they all did really cool intros. He came in with top gap on his arm. All right, top gap, just foreshadowing to a couple things. By the way, small caveat: Gala smiled for the first time I've ever seen him smile since I came to the LPL tonight on his intro. He came out and did a little dance and like was laughing and smiling. Historic. Literally, evidence? I had to check outside. Yes, it's all over Twitter.
What player was it?
I almost said Shahu. Gala. Just go to LPL Fan Club on Twitter. They posted all about it. QBeach posted about it as well.
Dude, I was checking out that Twitter account. It's a pretty cool Twitter account. I like it.
It is. It's really cool. Shout out to LPL Fan Club. Shout out to everybody that covers the LPL and gives us to the Western audience. It's awesome. I literally had to check that pigs weren't flying outside my window at night because I was like, there's no way. But hey, it all comes down to it. And especially because that was all fun and good, but then we got into game. And Breathe had a little bit of a top gap. And there was one instance in game 2 where a solo bolo was given over to Breathe, and afterwards, right after, he just goes straight to the camera, flexing the top gap on his arm, and poor Shanji, who, by the way, was ELO held tonight on his team, head in hands 3 separate times. 3 separate times after that.
I've seen that in the tweets right now.
Literally going like this. He went back to the game, went back. Went back to the game, went back. Like, oh my God, that is mental damage done to the solo bolo top lane.
Emotional damage, definitely. All right, for future episodes, now that we're doing video, I need to have like OBS virtual cam so I can show at least the watchers what's going on here, because I have it on my screen and it is
honestly, we should
hilarious.
just like do a 3-box or something and have like the current screen on the bottom of it, something like that. We'll have one side of the one side.
She's like crying, man.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. But you know, it is what it is. RNG looked real good, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But that was my favorite moment. It was definitely a mix of the Gala and Breathe moment, but the fact that this man just cold-heartedly looked straight into the camera with the top gap on his arm, like, yeah, just too good. We'll have to see if we get that in an ACL this year.
That's incredible. Also, I'm making mental note, because again, I'm learning everything about the league. I'm making mental note. I was there the day. Well, I wasn't there, but the morning after, Gala smiled.
Yeah, seriously, it's incredible. He was like the most animated I've ever seen. It was actually crazy. So we did have the best of threes to get to. First of all, we had LGD versus RA. It was a 2-1 victory for RA. After all. And going over RA a little bit more, I do want to highlight some big picks. Assam last year catching my eye, coming into RA this year as a new bot laner, paired with Southwind, who continuously finds jobs. Even though we've seen some struggling over the last couple of years for Southwind, he still consistently finds support positions, and I think that says something to the level of that he brings at a baseline, right, to the LPL, and mixing with Assam, who was a very aggressive bot laner, as is tradition for LPL. I'm actually really excited to see what they can do throughout the year. Did not look that great starting out in the series tonight, but overall looked really, really good as the series went on.
Did they lose game one? Like, how did the
lose
series
game
shake
one.
out?
Yeah, they did lose game one, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. I just want to go over RA a little bit more.
Sure, yeah.
Top side of the map is the exact same. All three: Cube, Luyen, and Strive. And I think Luyen and Strive really have had trouble in the past, like connecting and making sure that Luyen is not just giving away games and being too aggressive. And I think this year is a big chance for Strive to kind of shore that part of himself up. And they were the brightest part of RA last year. So it was nice to see that transition to keep the top side of the map, but as well as change up bot lane a little bit. And at least have Strive in a position of carry. Now, LGD, on the other hand, I got some strong words for you, LGD. I know you can't see me when I get close to the camera, but
it's actually less intimidating.
It is. They got rid of my boy Shadow, man. But I will say they gave Meteor a position who hasn't played League of Legends, or at least LPL, in over 600 days. I think it was like 660 something, or I don't remember exactly, but he had played in a long time, and takes the position, comes in first game, and I think it was really interesting to see. He's always been a guy that takes very unique picks. Ended up picking Skarter in game number 1, which we could talk about that a little bit more. But Jin Zhao still there on the LGD roster. Hai Chao still there in mid lane. Big question marks for LGD, as they didn't have a great summer split. So coming in here, not having much promise, it feels like, in terms of like a big bright spot for them, but it's about growth over the season, right? There's 16 games. So
I'm trying to remember from your power rankings, were they last place?
Close.
They were
I think they were
the
close.
bottom, right?
Yeah, I think they were real close. The way the games went down, now, I was still doing prep and stuff, so I got a lot of this info from Hysterix, who was casting the series, and I did go back and watch a lot of the minute details for especially game 1. But Meteor big Skarter game 1 and kind of just went to town. But the big sticker was a 9-0 Zeri for LPC, who is another a very new and aspiring player, at least in for RA or LGD rather. Then things didn't go so well, Kangas, because in game 2 and 3, Luyen just literally jungle gapped. And I think that's a theme maybe for the night, because we'll talk about other games later that definitely had a lot of jungle gapping. But it was Luyen back-to-back having incredible games, helped by the fact that Cube was given Jax twice in a row, the new like mid-scope rework Jax,
Yeah, he's like insane right now.
Destroyed side lane constantly 2 games in a row. So
what was LGD's top laner playing? Do you have the pick ban up? Also, I don't know how to say LGD's top laner's name.
I actually don't have it up on my screen right now. It's Xiaoshu.
That's fine.
Xiaoshu.
Xiaoshu. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something else. So for everybody listening, I wrote down the rosters this time. With
no way.
So I could try
learning.
and actually follow along with what Lennon's saying. As opposed to episode 1, where I felt like a kid in Spanish class on day 1. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yo, he's learning to take notes in class. All right, it's working out. So I hope you all
We're getting there.
So again, completely jumble gapped. Yeah, words are hard. Especially when I just got done.
He's losing it, everybody.
Game 3, Meteor. He picked the Skarner game 1. I don't remember exactly what he picked game 2. He picked Zach game 3. Nah. don't do it. Don't do it. He ended up like 0-4 or something. It did not go well. So it was a very big landslide for RA, who it didn't seem showed up in game number 1. And then in game 2, 3, they got right on track and kind of smashed through LGD. So it was not a great start for LGD, and that's why I feel like a lot of growth is needed and a lot of communication needs to be settled on how they approach the game as a whole, especially around objectives and things. Whereas RA, slow start, maybe strong finish, and that's been a case for them in summer as well. We've had multiple talks about how they were a slow start, strong finish team.
Well, I'm already a Meteor fan. If this player's playing Skarner and Zach in the LPL, sign me up.
Hey, we love to see it. Love to see it. All right. Well, you ready to go on to second series of the night?
Let's
Probably
do
the
it.
most banger. All right, everybody.
Tell me more about Top Gap.
Yeah, top gap for sure. It was OMG versus RNG. Now, some interesting things coming into this to kind of overview these teams. First time both these teams are playing. OMG coming into the season, this is the second year in a row that they are keeping a big majority of their roster. And that being literally everybody but the support, who, before getting replaced, was on this team for 8 years in the LPL. So that's a long time. It's a long time. His name was Cold.
I don't think I've never heard of that in any region. Like even Reckless went to different teams.
It's a long time. So having that change up, they came into consistent roster. They have the likes of Shanji, who absolute king of the dragons last, but he was the one that really made the Shyvana stick and became a very big popular meta. Like the night he did that and went Shyvana for the first time in Split, the next day they were playing it in LCS, they were playing it in LEC, and it felt like he was the dragon, right? And he had such a promising last split, coming in as a new player in spring and then growing over time, having Aki in the jungle, who, by the way, likes to play Zed jungle, has played it in the LPL last year as well. Didn't work out very well, but he's an assassin player. And then you have...
It's about the intention, not
yeah. The most important part of OMG has been and will continue to be Cream in the mid lane. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2021, had a really rough time finding his own in 2022, where he had been huge on the likes of Aries, Akali's, even the Syndras. He lost that last year, and he kind of became a non-existent until the end of the split, where in summer he actually kind of turned it on. But then you also have to look at, Abel being with a new bot laner. He's, for the first time, right, coming in here and changing it up, going with Jerry or PP God. I know is one of your favorite names of
I can't decide which one I like more. One is literally just a name, Jerry. But
I can't stop thinking Rick and Morty
name. It's like just such a it's Jerry. He's a chill guy.
It's just Jerry.
PP God.
Yeah. So PP God was on V5 last year. He's actually really, really good aggressive support. But changing over here, he's not in the roster just yet, or at least not playing just yet. I think maybe next week he might come in. But Jerry having a very strong, at least early showing in the series with Abel, set him up for success. Obviously, OMG did not set themselves up for success. But I thought OMG coming to this one, my ideas were, man, they're staying with the roster again? Like, this is incredible. They're giving time to these players to continue to grow together. And then they got 2 out. So we'll see how the season goes on. But RNG, man, this is a story that I find so interesting. We all know the names Xiaohu and Ming. They are the parents of RNG. They literally were the generals. We talked about Armeo in ACL. Well, this is like the 5-star equivalent, right? Like I think that it is
even
incredible.
as somebody that's not an LPL fan, like I know those names. Like they've
they
been on
are
the international
shot
stage
callers.
so
They
many
are
times.
playmakers. They know exactly what's going on and how to make macro decisions, right? And that is gone. Ming is still in contract negotiations, apparently. We just had an update a couple days ago. But Xiaohu is off the team. And to have that happen, but keeping a core of 3 members in Wei, Breathe, and Gala from, jungle, top, and bots, respectively, there was like a really big need to step up. Somebody has to be the new shot caller. Somebody has to be the new playmaker. And Wei was always the sword in that combo, right? He was always, they tell him to go somewhere, he goes there and he fights. And it worked out for RNG. That's how they made it to Worlds. Didn't work out at Worlds. But in the end, it was a lot of that concept for RNG that was so important. And going into the series, it was like, who is going to be the person that steps up? I think that was the biggest question that we actually probably got answered tonight, which ended up being Wei, who just... We talk about top gap with the funny beam. He literally jungle gapped this series. It was dirty. Game 1, game 2, he was everywhere. He had hit every single lane by 10 minutes in both games. He was completely a jungle machine, getting ganks off, getting kills. I think the biggest thing for me was it seemed like he had the power and decision-making, and they would execute afterwards. And it started off in game number 1 with a beautiful movement. They had their new player in Teng Yuan. Tong Yuan, sorry, I got the name wrong.
Oh, mid laner. Okay.
Yeah. He was playing in the role of Xiao. Honestly, it felt like a mini Xiaohu. He was playing the Gallios. He played the Lissandra. He was facilitating the jungle matchup for Wei. And they got a beautiful early gank on top side. A dive onto Shanji that set up Breathe so well in the early game to just snowball top lane. And that was all from the communication of Breathe and Wei, managing Breathe's waves and knowing exactly when to bring Tong Yuan over into the top side as the Galio. And it was just a microcosm of what happened in this series, because it was Wei making every progressive move and Aki really having no answer. We didn't see Aki until like 15 minutes into the game, and he was on Wukong. And that's just not like Wukong's in the LPL. They are using clones to get very unique jungle pass, ganks, things like that. It was just very odd. And it was just the fact that Wei had completely controlled the jungle. And that, to me, was such a telling sign for, and it is just one series, right? You can't go doom and gloom or going to Worlds, winning everything. But to see that initial part where Wei seems to have control is so important for RG's success. And they also just had Bunny's first LPL game ever, by the way. And they get an incredible showing. The first game, both the new guys, they don't die. Both Tong Yuan and Bunny go unkilled. The only person that dies, they drop 2 kills, insane. And it was Breathe that died both times. And game 1 was just completely mishandled.
So what's OMG's power level? Like, what should we expect out of them?
I love OMG. I had them at 8-7 last year, I think, in my power rankings, and I think that consistency on a team is huge. Cream has huge upside. Shanji has huge upside, but it's when communication breakdown and map control breakdown, they just lose all help. It feels like from their entire team.
But it is like it's not easy to go deathless against them, you would say? Like it is an
because they're gonna fight you, right?
Like,
Cream was the rookie of the year in 2021 for a reason. This guy is one of the most mechanically intensive mid laners. It's just sometimes everything else is a little too much.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe dropping the 2 generals, the 2 shot callers, is all it took to make Gala smile. Just
hey, maybe it is.
Hey, and I've seen a coincidence here.
Yeah, it might just be. We actually talked about it on the stream too. So,
oh no.
Yeah, it was a bit of a meme, but it is interesting to see how things are panning out, right? And the fact that the big question was who steps up for RNG, and it was literally everybody, and it was OMG early season. Big part of OMG was Colt. You can't have a guy that's there for 8 years that's not an integral structural piece to your game plan and how you approach the game. And I think we saw that tonight in OMG, because in the LPL, something that's been more and more clear over the last couple of years is synergy and communication between jungle and support. If you don't have that, you look like clowns. And it's actually really interesting to see how much that affects OMG here in the early part of the season too.
So you're telling me that Jerry might get benched for PP God?
Well, PP God was probably the original starter. PP God is much more like the higher profile pick that Jerry is, but maybe Jerry just proves
Jerry,
it.
The name Jerry
Jerry
carries a lot of esteem, Lennon. Yeah, I realize that. Strikes fear into the enemy.
So in game 2, the biggest thing that happened in game 2 for me was it was supposed to be over. Ultra Prime were supposed to win game 2. Or not Ultra Prime, sorry. OMG.
Yeah, are we moving on?
No. OMG were supposed to win game 2.
We're losing. We need to have a counter for the tired Mazel brain. How many times
So Shanji on the Gwen was actually popping off in the top lane. It was still a lot of control from Wei, right? And we had seen a lot of the holdover from game 1, the ganks early on, everything like that. But they were losing skirmishing fights because OMG had an entire scaling comp. They had like Ryze, they had Gwen, they had I think it was still Wukong in the jungle, and then they had major scaling in bot lane. I think they had Zeri Yumi or something like that. And it got to like 25, 30 minutes. Things were like, it was like 25 minutes, and things were looking real rough for RNG. They had lost like 2 fights in a row. They were losing objectives. And then OMG decided to full in on bot side. So RNG on blue side, OMG on red side, they are fighting where the tier 2 used to be for RNG on the bot side, on bot lane.
Okay.
They fight there the entire time. Camille, this entire game, has been pushing top lane and pushing in the inhib. Has that lane completely open. There's just the Nexus turrets up there. OMG decide to fight. Breed TP's top. Camille literally 3 shots each one of the Nexus towers and wins the fucking game.
Did he have Hullbreaker? Or was it just like a Divine Sunder?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And it was
the old classic.
Despicable. Like, you think of the emotional damage that Shanji suffered in game 1. Well, getting your game ripped out from under you when Shanji is the only one that was actually doing well. That's why Shanji's elo held, but that's also why it's kind of a top gap. So there's the culmination of the second series of the day. We had an incredible base race. I had so much fun casting that. It was chaos. The crowd, they showed the crowd afterwards. Everybody's yelling, screaming, jumping up and down. It was awesome. By the way, shout outs to LPL crowds. We actually had chants and stuff tonight, and I was very happy.
That was
really cool.
I love a live crowd. It just elevates everything. And I know RNG is going to have a ton of fans there in the crowd. Like, they're a big org. Where's OMG in, like, fan... dumb.
I mean, the thing is about LPL is, like, to our knowledge, like our standpoint, I would say every team in the LPL has a big fan base because comparatively, and I'm trying to get my headset plugged in. All right.
Yeah, for anybody who's just listening to not watching,
more fans, right? And I think like we consider fandoms for NA teams, but I don't think there's even a comparison. And yes, some are going to be more than others, right? Obviously, RNG, Top Esports, EDG is going to be huge. OMG is going to have a decent amount of fans because of their previous experience in like getting to playoffs finally with this competitive roster. But I wouldn't say it's the same as like the RNGs and stuff, right?
Okay, sure.
All right.
Last series.
Before we get to that, we gotta quiz you.
Oh no! I forgot we're doing this now.
All right, we figured we want to break up some of the games into these longer days because we have 3 best of 3s to get through, and I'm just talking constantly. So to make sure that everybody's paying attention and learning a little bit about this wonderful league, we're gonna test Kangas on some names and maybe faces of the LPL. So, Mr. Kangas, we're gonna go back to the first series first because I can't give you the easy ones. Who is the jungler for LGD? He played Skarner today.
Oh,
he played Zach game 3.
Meteor.
Hey, look Look at that. Look at that. He did it. All right,
Let's
that's
go.
first. You got to do one for each team.
Well, I just realized that I have the notes still up on my other monitor. I wasn't looking, but here, I'm opening up 2 tabs. Now my screen's darker. People watching the podcast can tell I've gone darker because now I have 2 blank tabs open instead of illuminating
This
ones.
will be on RA's roster. Who is their mid laner? I said he was a very integral part to the jungle mid combo last year. Need to see him step up this year. He might be looking for something, trying to attain something. His name, it's like you're grabbing something or you're going for something. You're striving for something.
Yeah, let me take another sip of coffee. Maybe divine inspiration will hit me here.
I literally just said his name.
Well, wait, what? Strive?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah!
Dude,
2 for 2, baby.
2 for 2. No help needed. All right, we're going on the next series. This was OMG versus RNG. Now, for OMG, I called him the literal dragon. I called him Thanos last year. He's the top laner for OMG. He was the one that brought Shyvana to the meta, it felt like, last year for the LPL. Who is he?
It was like Shing, something like that. Nope. It doesn't have an ing in it?
It has an I and a J.
Does it have an X in it?
No.
Well, I was way off then because
it is Shanji, the top
Shanji. There you go.
Yeah, new player in 2022.
One Piece. That's close enough. To
there you go. All right, this one should be easy. This one should be easy. He wrote Top Gap on his arm, and he's the top laner for RNG. He also got a solo bolo against a very emotionally damaged top laner for the opposing team. Who could it be?
Breathe, baby.
Good, nice. On brand. Awesome stuff. All right. Kangas is learning.
3 out of 4. I got 3 out of 4. I'll take it.
Hey, you working on up. I hope everybody else is taking notes too. But now we're gonna get to the last series of the night. So this one was, on paper, a literal banger. In execution, maybe not so much. So it was Ultra Prime versus Ninjas in Pajamas. Ultra Prime themselves had a really rough time last year. And they did find some success, middle of the pack team, some would say, but they did not find late, like, postseason success, anything like that. So they've decided to change things up. They have brought in and reunited Ning and Baolan, the 2018 World Champion Jungle and Support for IG. Ning has not played in 2 years, and Baolan a little bit less than that. And coming back in, they are joined by Ching, which is one of the brightest stars coming out of the LDL last year. With FPX Blaze, they won Summer LDL. He looked incredible, played in the offseason, especially in all the offseason tournaments. It was really nice to see him picked up in the offseason, even if it is to Ultra Prime, just to get the shot, because he deserved it. Also has a heck of a beard. He shaved it, though. He doesn't have the beard, so I was a little sad.
Yeah, I mean, the picture has it. I was gonna comment on it, but now
it's like the only LPL player I've ever seen with a beard. We had a mullet and we had a beard, and now they're both gone. I think they're both gone. I don't know what to say. Hairstyle.
Usually, I'm not a fan of like the chin strap, but he's rocking it.
He's rocking it. So, on top of that, right, we're talking about Ning Baolan coming in. They also have Harry in the top lane, who's a lesser known prospect. And I think was one of the kind of under the radar moments here in this series. The same with the likes of Invincible on the side of Ninjas in Pajamas. And we'll get to them in just a moment. But the last little bits I want to focus on is Doggo, who is by far one of my favorite players in the LPL, was the PCS standout as an E-sub for PSG Talon at MSI, and coming over to the LPL last year, had a really rough year on BLG, sitting behind Uzi, and just having a lot of really bad communicational issues with the team. And this year, going to another team, trying to change things up. I'm really excited for Doggo. Unfortunately, it went real bad. And he looked really rough tonight. So we'll see how that works out for the rest of the season. We'll talk a little bit more in detail in a minute. But that's my big prospects for Ultra Prime, at least. Getting to see the return of Ning and Baolan's huge. And then for NIP, who were V5, the core stays. They've got Xiaolong Bao in the jungle. They've got Dream in mid lane, who subbed in for Rookie last year when he was not in China yet at the beginning of summer, and looked great. Fodic is back in the bot lane. He was the 2022 spring first team All Pro ADC, and he's very, very good in the late game.
I see Victory 5 got 3rd place in summer regular season.
Yep.
Do you happen to remember in spring?
They did not do good. I think it was like 6 or 7, something like that, and then they got knocked out.
But Fodic in particular looked really good.
Yeah, Fodic looked really good. I've been a really big fan of Fodic, and he was with PP God last year, and I think the combo was very, very strong. Xiaolong Bao, he shared time with Karsa last year, who obviously everybody knows Karsa, but Xiaolong Bao was like the little aggressive brother of Karsa, and it felt like he was trying a lot of things that didn't necessarily go too well, and a lot of times they were stuck trying to dig themselves out of a pit. And Dream, as I said, subbed in for Rookie, he was an incredible prospect to be kind of continued by V5/Ninja Pajamas. And last year when he subbed in for Rookie, like honestly, the games that he played were pretty dang good. Like when Rookie came in, obviously it's Rookie, right? But like everybody was very surprised that the consistent levels still stayed the same, even though Dream was in the roster, with how important mid lane is in LPL. So there's a lot of going for NIP.
I think you said like Xiaolong Bao. Is that XLB
Xiaolong
on the roster?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So just making sure.
It's Soup Dumplings.
Soup Dumplings.
That's what his name is. Yeah, we had all the food tonight.
It's a jungler for Ninjas and Pajamas.
It is, yeah.
I'm saying these things out loud so I remember them. And also hopefully the people listening might be following along.
Tong Yuan is sweet rice balls. So we had a bunch of food tonight. So let's go down what happened in these games. It was very unfortunate for Ultra Prime, but there were some bright moments. Obviously, Doggo, really rough guy. Like there were moments where he was like stepping back up to tower in game number 1 when there was like an obvious dive coming, and just like some missteps, ultis, things like that on Lucian. And it looked really rough. The communication with Baolan seemed to be a bit off, but that's where time obviously means a lot for them. Ning got a pretty good advantage in game number 1. He was playing Wukong both games, and the early advantage came off of XLB, and in terms of like trying to push that towards top side for Ning. But it was Xiaolong Bao who was on the Vi. And Vi for Xiaolong Bao is something that's not typical. I mean, it is typical, right? For any LPL jungler, any catch-out mechanic like that is going to be super important. But Xiaolong Bao was very much like, he was using the Belvets. He was going for like very much the aggressive junglers to try to
I'll carry, not I'll engage and facilitate.
And now to see him going for the Vi, who is very much a set up your team champion, right? Like he even opted into like GAs, things like that. And I think that seeing him transition from I want the resources I want to carry to a setup for your team, and it works so damn well for NIP, it was so incredible because he took advantage by leaning into the setup around Dream and especially Fodic in the first game. And Fodic destroyed game number 1. He was on Zeri, and there was really not much to say in terms of like the 2v2s. But then when we got to team fights and objectives, they were always there and always in position. And top lane didn't really exist game 1. It was literally a stalemate top lane, and then eventually team fights and stuff broke out. So it was really interesting to see a weird state, but still a lot of control coming out from Ninjas and Pajamas. And then game 2, Ning kind of fell off the face of the earth. And Xiaolong Bao just got, I think it was like a level 4, level 5, maybe it was level 6, a big gank on top side, and got Invincible ahead, which just snowballed Invincible after that. And Xiaolong Bao just like controlled dragons, controlled no Rift Heralds. Actually, Ning got both Rift Heralds, but he controlled like everything from there on, Barons, stuff like that. And at that point, like it was over. The game was just too far gone, and I don't think Ultra Prime got a fair shot in that second game. Ning actually looked pretty good for not having played in 2 years. So I was very happy to see.
So he wasn't doing anything. He didn't like go down to the LDL level or like What
Yep,
do we know if he was streaming or still playing?
He might have
League of
been
Legends?
streaming. The streaming is hard to keep track of. I don't know. Maybe he was. But I don't know if maybe he got to broadcast, things like that. But I just know he hadn't played.
He wasn't competing at the professional level.
In 2 years. So it was a duality of things. I think I'm very much looking for Doggo, who had a rough year last year, to do better this year, and it did not look good to start off. I think Ning will have a lot of growing pains, Baolan as well, and that could play into Doggo having a rough start, but they need to kind of get the swing of things again. And it looked like Ning was on his way already.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all the series, Kangas. That is all 3 of them. We made it through much quicker than yesterday because we actually had a plan.
I love it. Yeah.
But that's our catch-up. That's our coffee before bed. Do you have any big takeaways from day 2 of the LPL spring split here, man?
Let's think about the takeaways. First one, welcome back, Meteor. Already a fan playing Skarner Zach in the jungle. Also, you're saying that he had been like close to 2 years, like a year and a half or something since the last time he played. So welcome back. That's cool. Love to see some cool player intros with Breathe. Even if he is just ripping it off from another player that already did it, but it's still cool. And then also pulling it off. Now I'm excited for the Breathe versus what was the name? YSKM. Yeah, you should know me. I want to see those two walk off against each other. That'll be fun.
That would be pretty fun.
And then in the last one, good luck, Doggo.
Oh no!
I remember the Doggo story when he subbed in at the MSI, like popped off, and then vaguely followed his journey in LPL. Again, like I don't watch LPL, but like I would hear things about Doggos in LPL now. It's like it's kind of cool that he got imported, and then. Yeah, and then I knew that it didn't work out too well. I didn't know to the extent, but hopefully he's able to pick it up and turn it around. And how do you say the mid laner's name for Ultra Prime? Ching. Bring back the goddamn beard. Bring it back.
Didn't say. I'm so sorry. I forgot. And I was gonna do a little shout out at the end here because I completely forgot. So we had 2 players play for the first time on the LPL stage tonight. It was Ching and it was Bunny. So congratulations to both Ching and Bunny
first day?
For having because he's been on the LDL. He literally spent the year in the LDL and FPX Blaze, won the championship, and now in the LPL.
Grow back the goddamn beard, okay? Bring it back. It looks incredible in the picture. I want to see it.
Well, thank you, Kangas, for joining me before your day gets started, as I'm going to be going to sleep now. Thank you all for tuning in and having a good time with us, learning about the LPL. It's been a pleasure to get to talk about the league a little bit.
Before we close out, though, we have a very interesting dilemma because you and I are both going out tonight for a couple of drinks. Does that mean that we're going to be doing like a special hungover episode tomorrow morning?
Guess we'll find out.
All right, we'll leave that up.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Everyone, have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever it is. Thank you all so much. See you tomorrow.